I'm the founder of We Strive for Literacy. Our mission is to improve literacy for underserved communities. So I wanted to share the story of how I got here today. It started last year in September. I started a Bible study, and I was just really wondering what my purpose was in life. And so I went to God because I'm a Christian, and I was like, okay, show me what direction I want to go or you want to take me. Through that, I started a Bible study with Experiencing God, the book. Then January rolled around, and in January, I felt called to volunteer. And so I went to Dreams for Change, which is a homeless encampment downtown San Diego. And I left that experience literally with like a heart tug that I can't even explain. It was like my heart was pulling out of my chest, and all I kept thinking about was like, how can I help people in a bigger way? How can I serve others? So that was my calling. I knew it. It was undeniable. I didn't even have to pray about that one. I'm like, I feel that. And then so in February, I transitioned to part-time work for my company, the tech company I was working for, because I wanted to sort of search and seek out this other way. And so then I was volunteering halfway, just different other locations, and then also working for the tech company. And so it was about mid-February when I was doing my morning Bible study, and I came to a verse in Revelations, and it was like, if you're not hot, if you're not cold, if you're only lukewarm, I'll spew you out of my mouth. And I was like, whoa, that one hit me, because I was like, okay, I'm sort of halfway over here, and I'm not fully committed. So 8 a.m. that morning, I called my boss and I said, I got the memo. I got to put my 2 weeks notice in. There's a calling and I need to commit. And so then so my last day was actually on Leap Day of this year. And so that was sort of symbolic for me because I was taking a leap of faith and everything. But it was just to pursue a purpose-driven life. And so then the next step, once I left the company, I've been trying to get a meeting with the CEO of Dreams for Change forever. And of course, right after I left my last position, a couple days later, she came up to me and she's like, I have some time this week, let's meet. So I said, okay. And then at the same time, the CEO of the company I had just left, he was really inspired by what I was doing. And he said, hey, let's meet, let's talk. And so he threw out an idea. He said, doing a nonprofit with children and nature, that kind of seems like it might be fun. And he wanted to be involved. And then I did some praying, and I'm like, okay, I'm all out here. Just give me some direction, which way to go. And I met with the CEO of Dreams for Change. And my last question to her was, what challenges does her son face? Because she mentioned she had a child. And she said he struggles with reading. Like, he can't read. He's in 5th grade and he's at a 2nd grade level. And I was just astonished. I was like, what? Because you think that the public schools that's their job to do. So anyway, I left that meeting and I went immediately onto Google and I typed in California literacy, and I was astonished. One of the first things I saw was Sold a Story by Emily Hanford, if you ever want to watch, and it broke my heart and tore it and stomped on it. But she did all the research, and so anyway, that's how I found out about the literacy crisis. And then so by the end of March, I registered the nonprofit. Originally it was called Leap of Faith, but I rebranded in July. And so I embarked on my mission. So here's the problem. So I did about 4 or 5 months of research to figure out if what I was reading and what I had seen is actually the problem here in San Diego. And it was. And so in 1997, there's the reading panel was established to figure out how a child learns how to read. And so they declared that there's 5 components: phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. And so what is in schools now is called balanced literacy, and the focus is on the fluency and the comprehension. So in the California literacy plan, it's called Making Meaning. All of their focus is on making meaning of the word, when the foundation of learning how to read is your phonics and your phonemic awareness, the sounds of your letters and the combinations. So without that decoding aspect of it, it's left so many students left behind for years. And this has been over a decade, which crushed my heart too, because I'm like, how with the 21st century and all this technology we have these days, are children getting left behind? And so here's some of the numbers right now. So I'm focusing on Vista and Escondido. I'm located in North County, and so These are the 2 cities with the lowest literacy rates. As you can see here, the reading proficiency, so 41% of the students are at grade level, but that means 59% are not. And it gets worse when you look into the Hispanic students, which are 63% of the population, and 67% of them are not meeting their grade level standards. And it gets even worse when you go to English learners, and that's 85% of them are not at their grade level. And so this is crushing for me. I mean, clearly there's a problem. So how are we going to solve it? Our approach. So I took a few months to angle this. There was different directions I took, but I've landed upon this one because this is who's letting us in the door. So I partnered with EBLI, which is Evidence-Based Literacy Instruction. I found her through The Truth About Reading, which is a documentary. And so her approach is sound to print. And what really appealed to me about her company and her structure of doing things is that, well, I was told, doing these months of research that it takes years, it takes months for a child to actually, move the needle to learn. And I knew in my heart that can't be. Like, there has to be a way that a child can learn quicker than that. And so that's when I found EBLI. So students come into her program and are out of it. 95% of the students can learn between 12 and 24 hours to be proficient in reading. And I was like, yes, that's what I knew. I knew it was out there. So I'm actually in conversation right now. I'm not allowed to use her logo yet, where she's writing up the documents with her attorney as we speak. But once that is established, then our partnership will be official. So community mobilization. So one thing that I would like for all of you guys to help too is to mobilize communities. So we want to gather some individuals who want to teach children how to read. And so we will do the financing part to pay for EBLI to get them trained. And then, we'd have them, it's for an after-school program. We weren't actually allowed in the doors yet for a school, like an actual public school. They wouldn't even consider us outside help, which is okay. So that's why I pivoted towards community centers. But yeah, so we want to mobilize the community, get some individuals who want to teach the children after school hours, and then it'll be direct to student tutoring, small groups. And we do this through partnerships with the community organizations. So a couple that I've been in contact with is the Boys and Girls Club, Interfaith in Escondido, and Solutions for Change. And so we want to partner with them. Basically, all these community centers that have children there that have the most need, that we can start there. And then something that I discovered, which I had no idea, I mean, it makes sense, but now, looking at it now, is trauma-informed literacy care. I was just in the most recent weeks introduced to how the trauma affects a child of not knowing how to read. And I'll get into that on my next slide. But the whole point of this is to teach children how to read, but also to get the data. I want to document all the measurements, from baseline assessments. I want to do progress monitoring, and then, a final assessment at the end. And I want to make sure to have all of that documented so that when I'm able to get over to, the schools if they open up, or charters, or however that might work. I can say, hey, look, this is working. Like, we have a solution. Let's move forward now. So literacy and mental health. I know that's a lot of writing, but it was really serious to me, and it really hit home for me. So imagine facing the world without the ability to read, or to read well. For many struggling readers, this is their reality, a daily struggle that impacts their self-worth and their motivation. If you can imagine struggling readers, they feel isolated, inadequate. Their stress, their anxiety every single day. You need to read something, whether it's a menu or anything. And so, there's a lot of social withdrawal that comes with it. They don't want to be around social situations. Behavioral issues, children want to act out. They'll maybe make themselves into the class clown or something, in order to put a facade and mask the pain, really. And then you have the risky behaviors. Literacy challenges can push students to drug use, to cope or to numb themselves of the feelings, or even to find social acceptance with a group. And so these are all symptoms, right? And so I think a lot of society these days, they acknowledge these symptoms and they want to mask it with medication or something. But are we really addressing the root cause? If all the students, if all the schools actually focused on raising their literacy rates, I think that a lot of these traumatic things that are going on in our children's lives will dissipate slowly, naturally, because learning to read is just, it's fundamental. And so what we're going to provide, and this is brand new, like I said, in the last couple weeks, I've really decided that this is super important for us to also provide with EBLI, is an environment where they can come and feel secure and safe and supported, and that it's okay and everybody can learn how to read. It just takes some time. And the encouragement, we want to have every child just believe in themselves, that you can do it too. It might take a little bit of time, but everybody can read. And then the potential. So this is one thing that, transitioning and learning how to read, there are so many opportunities once you learn how to read, right? You can become anything you want to be. Anything. If you want to be a lawyer, you pick up the law books, you go to school for that. Whatever you want to be. And so with that knowledge, we want to kind of sort of ease it in with them, like, hey, like you can do this, you can do that, but just easily, gradually, because they've dealt with a lot of trauma, and that's something that we want to recognize. So some of the key benefits for the participants, so increased confidence and engagement, they'll be more happy. They will be present, and I think that's a big problem right now in schools. I hear a lot about attention deficit disorder and ADHD and focus. But if you think about that root problem, if they knew how to read and what they were learning, then they'd be more willing. We naturally want to learn, and so like with that tool of literacy, reduced disruptive behavior, and then accelerated learning, which is why I chose EBLI, how I mentioned before, minimal instructor time and maximize the gains. Expected outcomes, so obviously the literacy gains will raise the students. So our goal is to have students raised to grade level proficiency. And then it will actually affect across all subjects, because you have to read pretty much in every different subject that you're involved in. And then increase state and assessment scores. So I'm excited to see this, because I feel like when we're at these community centers and their students are going back to the schools and all of a sudden their scores are getting raised and they're like, what is going on here? Then I'm going to be like, hey, here's that data. Anyway, so then, and then the long-term society contribution. Obviously you can get higher level paying jobs, pursue a higher education, contribute to society, and then help the economy grow, which is something that we need. And then how we align with the Sustainable Development Goals. Number 1, no poverty. Number 4, quality education. And number 10, reduced inequalities. And then how you guys can help support. So volunteering is going to come here. And so I'm actually in conversation with these community groups right now. I'm hoping that we launch in January. That's the goal right now. And so volunteering, we're going to need some people who are willing to and want to help these children learn how to read. And then, like I said, we would provide the EBLI education, the training, and then we would want some committed. I'm worried about the turnover, so I would really like to see if we can get some committed people in there to stay at least 6 months. And then advocate. If you guys have children and they're in school and they're with balanced literacy, find out, and figure it out. And so like the new terminology is structured literacy. However, with EBLI, which is the one that actually makes bigger moves, it's structured linguistic literacy. And that's because it starts with the sound to print, which that's a whole nother conversation, but it's very dynamic and I love the way she does it. And then donations. We're at a point, been out of work for a little while and now moving on to the next step. And so we are definitely looking for donations too, if you guys are willing to help. Thank you. I appreciate it.